Welcome to the Flora Sage podcast, a place where we help you create a life you're excited about. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Flora Sage. If you're new here, welcome. I am a simplification coach. I help you align your life 1 degree at a time by helping you declutter the 9 types of clutter that get in the way of you having a life that you are wildly obsessed with. What are these 9 types of clutter? The 9 types of clutter are financial clutter, body clutter, daily clutter, emotional clutter, spiritual clutter, mental clutter, daily clutter, digital clutter, and process clutter. Today, we are going to talk about some of the internal clutter that get in the way of you having a life that you are, again, wildly obsessed with. So you all know, if you've been here for any period of time, how much I absolutely love Neville Goddard. He is an American mystic from the 40s and 50s, and his works are truly life-changing. And one of the things that I read from every single day in my morning meditations is Neville Goddard's The Complete Reader. These are all of his books in one go. There's several passages in this book that I read over and over and over again, and they're so profound, and I realized, I'm like, I need to share this with my people. I need to share this with all of you, because every time I read it, I have such a shift. And I'm like, that is what I'm all about. Like, that's my entire platform is about tiny little shifts. And this literally talks about how an internal shift has to take place for the external shifts to happen. Now, several weeks ago, we were talking about creating habits and new neural pathways, and how you just decide, I'm going to do it. And you take that action, and what happens is that internal pathway, the habit, the synapses, the neural pathway gets created. And the more that you do it, the more solidified that neural pathway becomes, which then results in that external shift that happens in your physical body from creating that new habit of working out. That was the example I used a couple weeks ago in the podcast. So today, I'm going to read to you from Neville Goddard's The Complete Reader. And this particular book is called The Awakened Imagination and the Search. So I'm going to read a couple different excerpts, and these are direct quotes. So the first one, if you have the book, it's on page 40, and I quote, "What a comfort it is to know that all I experience is a result of my own standard of beliefs, that I am the center of my own web of circumstances, and that as I change, so must my outer world." I'm going to say that again. I'm going to say that last sentence. That I am the center of my own web of circumstances. And that as I change, so must my outer world. And I continue. The world presents different appearances according as our states of consciousness differ. What we see when we are identified with a state cannot be seen when we are no longer fused with it. By state is meant all that man believes and consents as true. It is a state from which we think that determines the objective world that we live in. So several weeks ago, I talked about my reminder board and how I have the word or the letters RAS, Reticular Activating System. Now, I talk about this in my book, and I've done podcasts about this before. Your reticular activating system is the part of the brain that filters out things that are not important to it, so that the things that are important to you and the brain come into being, and it filters it out. So let's just say that you want to manifest a brand new red car. All of a sudden, you start to see that exact red car everywhere, and you're like, oh my God, like, how am I now seeing this red car everywhere? Well, it was always there, but you didn't deem it important, so therefore your brain filtered it out. But when you said, this is important to me and I want a red car, this specific red car, now what happens is your reticular activating system, or your consciousness, now lets that in so that you can see it. Okay, so that's exactly what Neville is talking about here. And I quote, It is the state from which we think that determines the objective world in which we live. So again, if you think, I'm going to get this red car and this is such a fabulous car, yada yada, all of a sudden you start to see that car everywhere. Likewise, if you say, oh my gosh, my life sucks, everything I try never works out, so then what happens is you're going to be in that space of trying all these things and having it never work out. But if you're in this state of opportunities and resources are everywhere, and anything I do always works out in my favor, and you truly believe that, then what happens is everything that you try out is going to work in your favor. Okay, now, I continue. I'm going to actually say that last sentence again because it's so profound. It is the state from which we think that determines the objective world in which we live. The rich man, the poor man, the good man, the thief are what they are by virtue of the states from which they view the world. On the distinction between these states depends on the distinction between the worlds of these men. Individually, so different is the same world. It is not the actions and behavior of the good man that should be matched, but his point of view. So again, a lot of people are like, oh, well, so-and-so is super successful and she's doing XYZ action, so I'm going to do XYZ action. It's not the actions. It is not the actions that is making that person successful. It's that internal point of view that is making the shift, that is causing them to then want to do XYZ action. So I did a podcast several weeks ago about changing your point of view. And when you change your point of view, then you get massively different results in life. This is what that's talking about, okay? I'm going to say this again. It is not the actions and the behavior of the good man that should be matched, but his point of view. Now, this is the real gold, okay? This is the real gold. And I quote, outer reforms are useless if the inner state is not changed. Success is gained not by imitating the outer actions of the successful, but by right inner actions and inner talking. I'm going to repeat that because it's so good. Outer reforms are useless if the inner state is not changed. Success is gained not by imitating the outer actions of the successful, but by right inner actions and inner talking. This is why mindset work is so important. And again, you've all heard me talk about this. I used to think mindset work was bullshit. I used to think it was pointless. I'm like, what's the point? All I have to do is work hard and show up every day and do all the things. And I did that, and it literally led me to burnout. And I was like, what the hell am I doing wrong? And then finally, I kept hearing mindset. And finally, I'm like, fuck it, I'm just going to try it because everything else I'm doing isn't working. It's not working. Yes, I was getting somewhat successful. I had hit 6 figures. I even hit multiple 6 figures. But it was hard, and there was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears put into it. And I'm like, why does this feel so freaking hard? Why does this feel so hard? And it wasn't until I changed my mindset. It wasn't until I changed my inner actions and my inner talking that let it be easy. And I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked. I was like, well, holy shit, this actually works. Then what happened was I did less outer actions, and the small actions that I did do resulted in 10 times the amount of results that I did before when I wasn't doing mindset work and I wasn't paying attention to my inner actions and my inner talking. So again, let me share this with you again. It is not the actions and behavior of the good man that should be matched. It is his point of view. Outer reforms are useless if the inner state is not changed. Success is gained not by imitating the outer actions of the successful, but the right inner actions and inner talking. So how can you take this and use it to your advantage? How can you take this and create a life that's easy? Create a life that feels in flow. Create a life that you are wildly obsessed with, which is one of the things that I talk about all along. And to create a life that is aligned to your vision, Next, I want to share with you the story of Neville and him talking to his mentor. His mentor's name was Abdullah. And he said it was the fall of 1933 in New York City that I approached Abdullah with a problem. He asked me one simple question: what do you want? I told him that I would like to spend the winter in Barbados, but that I was broke. I literally did not have a nickel. If you will imagine yourself to be in Barbados, he said, thinking and viewing the world from that state of consciousness, instead of thinking of Barbados, you will need to spend the winter there. You must not concern yourself with the ways and means of getting there, for the state of consciousness of already being in Barbados, if occupied by your imagination, will devise the means best suited to realize itself. Man lives by committing himself to invisible states, by fusing his imagination with what he knows to be other than himself, and in turn, and in this union, he experiences the result of that fusion. You must imagine yourself right into the state of your fulfilled desire, Abdullah told me, and fall asleep viewing the world from Barbados. The world which we describe from observation must be as we describe it in relative to ourselves. Our imagination connects us with the state desired, but we must use imagination masterfully, not as an onlooker thinking of the end, but as a partaker thinking from the end. We must actually be there in imagination. If we do this, our subjective experience will be realized objectively. I began right then and there by fixing my thoughts beyond the limits of sense, beyond that sense to which my present state gave being, towards the feeling of already being in Barbados and viewing the world from that standpoint. He emphasized the importance of the state from which man views the world as he falls asleep. That night, and for several nights thereafter, I fell asleep in the assumption that I was in my father's house in Barbados. Within a month, people, this is so exciting. Within a month, I received a letter from my brother saying that he had a strong desire to have the family together at Christmas and asking me to use the enclosed steamship ticket for Barbados. I sailed 2 days after I received my brother's letter and spent a wonderful winter in Barbados. This experience has convinced me that man can be anything he pleases if he will make the conception habitual and think from the end. It has also shown me that I can no longer excuse myself by placing the blame on the world of external things, that my good and my evil have no dependency except from myself, and that it depends on the state from which I view the world, how things present themselves. All conceivable states are awaiting our choice and occupancy. The imaginative image is the only thing to seek. Now, one of the things I have on my reminder board is the phrase, embody the feeling of the wish fulfilled. This is a direct teaching from Abdullah, which is Neville Goddard's mentor, as well as Neville Goddard. Be in the space of already having the thing. Embody the feeling of the wish fulfilled. So, how would you act? How would you interact? How would you feel? How would you be? If you wake up and you had XYZ, that thing that you desire, that thing that you want, how would you act? How would you be in the world? If you woke up and you were 20 pounds lighter, you released 20 pounds overnight. You woke up and you were in your perfect and ideal body. You had those smoking hot arms. You fit perfectly into your clothes. You slept like a baby. How would you act to your family? How would you act to yourself? How would you carry yourself? How would you present yourself to the world? If you're a coach and you have a full complement of clients, let's just say that you max out at 10. You have 10 clients plus 3 on a waiting list. All your bills are paid. Your retirement is fully funded. How would you feel? How would you show up to the world? How would you show up when you go to post on social media? How would you stand? How would you interact with people? I really want you to get into that space. Allow yourself to say, what's one thing I desire to have in my life? Maybe it's a really healthy sexual relationship with your partner. How would that feel if you had that? How would it feel if you had that dream house? How would you feel if you had that dream career? You literally had it. How would you feel? Now, spend some time and really get into this space of feeling what it's going to feel like, or what it would feel like if you already had this thing, and just be in that space. Notice how your energy shifts. Notice how your posture shifts. Typically, when I do this with my private clients, they start to sit up taller and straighter. They start to put their shoulders back. You can see a visceral change in their body. It's a tangible shift that you can feel. Now, that's embodying the feeling of that wish fulfilled. Live your life from this space. What happens when life is poo-pooing on us and we have a shitty relationship, or we don't have the funds that we need to do the things that we want to? Maybe you don't have all the clients that you want. Maybe you are 20 pounds overweight. Maybe you have some health issues. What happens? We start to dwell on this. Our shoulders hunch over. We're not as peppy. We're not as energetic. We're not as motivated. Sometimes we're probably kind of crabby, kind of bitchy. We binge eat, or we do things that we know aren't healthy for us because we're so focused on the lack of that thing. I lack health. I lack physical fitness. I lack feeling good in my clothes. I lack a healthy partnership. I lack a healthy sex life. I lack clients. I lack money. So what do? You dwell on that, and you literally embody the feeling of that energy. You embody the feeling of that wish fulfilled. Well, some people are like, well, I don't want to wish for that. Well, that's what you're doing by embodying it and being in that space. And when you say, okay, so my current reality is nothing more than my past thoughts and actions realized. What do I want? What would it feel like? And allowing yourself to say, okay, if I had those 10 clients, or if I had 20 pounds released and I feel absolutely smoking hot in my body, I feel so strong, so centered, so good. I have an amazing relationship with my partner, an amazing sex life. I have an amazing career, an amazing job, an amazing place. How would that make me feel? And you know that old adage, fake it till you make it? There is some reason people say that. Remember, Neville said, outer reforms are useless. You can do all the outside stuff, but if you still have a piss poor attitude, and I've been there before, okay? So I say that with a grain of salt, and with much love, and with much compassion, and much empathy. If you do all the outside things, but you have a piss poor attitude, you're never going to get those things that you want. Outer reforms are useless if the inner state is not changed. Success is gained not by imitating the outer actions of the successful, but by right inner actions and inner talking. The world presents different appearances according to our states of consciousness. By state is meant all the man believes and consents as true. So what do you consent as true? I'm 20 pounds overweight. I'm 20 pounds overweight. That is true. That is true. That is true. Allow yourself to believe and consent as true those things that you want. Think about a time something just dropped in your lap. Think about a time all of a sudden you just got a promotion, or you just got a random check in the mail, or a random deposit, or all of a sudden you started working out just randomly, or somebody's like, oh, hey, I'm going for a walk. Do you want to come with? Oh, yeah, sure. It ended up to be some random ass habit that you started with your neighbor who would just come over 3 times a week and start walking. All of a sudden you jump on the scale, you're 7 pounds lighter. You're like, oh my God, wow, this is crazy. You weren't focused on losing weight, but what you were focused on is having an amazing time, great conversation, and moving your body that felt really good. When you have those things, when you embody the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you don't obsess with not having it. You enjoy the moment. You all of a sudden stop thinking about what you don't have and start being present in the moment with vigor, with motivation, with excitement, with passion. You don't obsess about the things because it's a non-issue. So what if your weight was a non-issue? How would you feel today? How would you feel? If your financial issues were a non-issue, how would you feel today? If your marital problems were a non-issue and your marriage was fixed, how would you feel today? How would you show up? You wouldn't be obsessing over it. You would embody the feeling of having that thing. So what would you do? You would be present. You would enjoy life. You would be present with the people you're speaking with. You would be pleasant with yourself. You would be graceful with yourself. You would be embodying the feeling of that wish fulfilled. And therefore, totally present in the moment and enjoying things so much more. So much more. So today, I would encourage you to really look at your abilities, to look at those things that you've been struggling with and ask yourself, what do I want instead? And am I able to fully embody this? If the answer is no, right now I'm really struggling with this, I want you to reach out to me. I have 2 options below in the show notes. One is for a single private session. One is for monthly coaching to work with me on a monthly basis. Click the links. Join me. You know that you're ready for change. You know that you are finally ready to embody that feeling of the wish fulfilled, to reprogram that inner state of being so that you can finally get rid of the lack, so that you can finally get rid of this weight and this feeling of why isn't this working? Why can't I have this? And I promise you, I share with you all kinds of amazing techniques privately. I do rapid resolution therapy. For those of you who have been following me on Instagram, you've heard about this. Rapid resolution therapy is one of the things that I use to help reprogram your subconscious mind to help look at things differently. It's absolutely an incredible tool. It's been something that I've been working on since late last year. I'm getting certified in it, and I promise you, this is one of the things that can help you shift to really, truly embody the feeling of the wish fulfilled. So if you're ready to finally get out of that space of lack and ready to finally embody the feeling that you've been wanting to feel for so long, click the link in the show notes. Let's talk. I know you can do this. Remember, all it takes is a clear vision of where you are and what you want, and the willingness to take one small degree of a shift every single day in the direction of your desire to align yourself to a life you love. I hope this serves you today. I love you, and I will see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening to today's podcast episode. All links mentioned are in today's show notes.